I'm going to be growing this pepper inside of this whiskey bottle. Now, there's a couple videos out there already about growing a pepper inside of a whiskey bottle, but none of them so far have really covered the whole process from start to finish. So that's kind of going to be my goal with this video series. So I guess, to get started, this is an empty bottle of Jack Daniels, and I basically went ahead and filled it with a 50-50 mixture of peat moss and perlite. So I've already done that just because it was kind of a long process, long and tedious, but pretty simple. You can really use any sort of like potting soil, garden soil, anything like that. Just make sure that it's not just like dirt, make sure it's like actual good soil. So I guess to get started, what we're going to do is we're going to take this little pepper out. I started this a couple weeks ago, and I just started this using the double cut method. You can go ahead and check out my other video on that if you would like. But anyways, we're going to take it and empty him out into this little container. And just be very careful. He's still really small, so you don't want to damage the roots too much. So just kind of squeeze the sides. You can tap a little bit if you need to. There we go. Alright, so it's starting to get a little bit root bound inside of these cups, which is alright, that's to be expected. There's also a little bit of algae growth, but that is okay. So just kind of get away as much of that existing soil as you can. It's not a huge deal because we're just going to be putting it right back into soil. So if you can't get all of it, it's not a big deal. So there we go. It's starting to look pretty good. I'm just going to kind of get some more just so I can fit it inside of this bottle. Now you can do this when your plants are a little bit smaller, but this one I wasn't originally planning on growing it in here. I was planning on doing some Black Panther seeds, but they never germinated for me. So I think they were just kind of bad seeds to begin with, but that's alright. We're going to do this instead. Alright, there we go. That's pretty good. So we're going to move that aside. Now we're going to take our whiskey bottle, and very carefully we're going to insert the roots into it. Now I have a stick here. This can help a little bit. Just be very careful because you don't want to damage the roots if possible. Whoop. Alright. We're just about there. And these will kind of regrow into a nice orderly fashion, so it doesn't matter if you just kind of stuff them down. Obviously don't stuff them down stuff them down really hard where you're going to damage them. But just enough so you can get them in there is perfectly fine. Now, you want to make sure that your pepper plant is a little bit offset from the center, because what we're going to do is we're going to take a pen. You can also use a straw or an eyedropper, or any really just hollow tube. And we're going to take it apart here, just so you have the hollow tube. Again, if you have a straw or an eyedropper, it's a lot easier to do. Now, if you have an eyedropper, you want to cut off the one end so it's a tube going through. And anyways, we're going to place this in here. And just like that. You can cut it down a little bit if you want. I'm going to leave it big. And then we're going to take some extra soil. Now, this is going to be the really tricky part. Take some extra soil and put it around. You're probably going to make a mess, but that's okay. We can always clean up later. My cats are going crazy in the other room. I don't know if you guys can hear them right now. Again, you can take this little thing, help stuff it down there a bit. You don't want to pack the dirt super tight, but enough so that the plant isn't going to fall over. And so I didn't really explain, but this little tube is to help with watering. Because as this grows, it's going to be really, really difficult to get water into the top. So instead, you can place it into here. I'm going to just use a little funnel, which fits perfectly in there. And that'll make watering just a little bit easier. Especially as the plant gets bigger. So keep stuffing. It's looking good. Alright, I'm going to do just a little bit more, and then I think we're going to call that good. And again, when you're putting the soil down there, just be really careful not to damage that plant at all. Especially if your plant's a bit smaller than mine, because if you damage it, obviously it's going to die. Or at least have a very hard time recovering. So I think we're almost there. Now, the big trick with this plant is not to overwater it, because on the bottom here, I don't know if you can see the bottom too well, but we don't really have any drain holes. So any water you put in here is pretty much going to stay in here. Now, if you really overfill it, you can always dump some water out from the top, but it's best just to be very careful when watering it. Alright, one last little bit of soil and I'm going to call that good. Perfect. Alright, I'm going to stuff that down, and I'll clean this up when I'm done here. No big deal. Alright, just like that. Alright, so now that our pepper is all planted inside of here, we're going to try to water it. So, I'll move those leaves out of the way, sorry. There we go. Now it's laying nice and flat. So to water it, again, like I said, use this tube that you put in here to make it a little bit easier. And it's going to be even easier if you use a little bit of a funnel as well. And just take a little bit of water. And just a little bit. There we go. It's taking a little while to sink in. Oh, there we go. All went down. Alright, and then you can kind of see in here where your water went. So especially when the plant's small, it doesn't need much water. If you're, like when your plant's as small as mine, if you're really making any soil past just the neck of this wet, you're probably overwatering. And you're going to get some root rot and possibly some algae growth. So I'm going to do just a little bit more. Just like that. And it looks like I can see that water in there, which is perfect. Alright. So that about does it for watering. Now, there's one final step, because obviously we have a very clear bottle. If you have a bottle that's like painted, because a lot of whiskey bottles come like already painted, or there's some sort of cover on them, then you don't have to worry about this. But since ours is a nice clear bottle, that's a perfect breeding ground for algae, which is horrible, because especially in this situation, your plant's already maybe struggling to get oxygen. So if you have algae and other, I guess, bacteria and stuff like that, producing carbon dioxide and sucking up all that oxygen, that's going to be really, really, really bad for your pepper. So we're going to take some aluminum foil, and I'm going to get a nice sheet here. Whew, don't like that noise against the bottle. Ugh. Now you can also paint your bottle, or I know some people, when doing stuff like this, will use construction paper and basically make like a tube to sit their bottle in. But I'm going to use aluminum foil, and let's see. We're just going to wrap it. Now you want to be really careful. See, I'm pinching the leaves there. I don't want to do that. Ooh, oh no. Alright, there we go. We're above the leaves now. So I'm going to wrap it pretty much all the way up to the neck here. All the way up to the top of it. Just like that. There we go. So that aluminum foil will prevent any algae from growing, and obviously if you want to take a cool picture, you can always take it off. Or if you're kind of showing people, you can take it off so it looks a little bit nicer. And you'll be able to see the roots, which will be really, really cool. So anyways, I'm going to keep you guys updated. This is going to be a multiple part series where I'm going to be posting updates on this pepper. And I just kind of want to walk you guys through the entire process of growing a pepper inside of a whiskey bottle. So I thank you guys all so much for watching, and if you really like this video, please give me a thumbs up, maybe even comment, and maybe, if you really like it, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.